Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Noah here today, bringing you another video. Today, I'm talking about the absolutely most devastating episode in the history of Survivor, which was episode 12 of this most recent season of Survivor, aka Survivor 50, in the hands of the fans. Let me tell you something. This was not what the fans wanted to see. In my opinion, this truly was like the end of Survivor 50. Like, this is whenever, and no offense to the final five, but this was whenever my interest in the season kind of pretty much utterly collapsed. Now, obviously, I love Survivor and I will always watch Survivor, okay? This isn't like me saying, oh my god, Survivor's dead. Like, some people are like so dramatic about it. Obviously, Survivor still has a very bright future ahead of Survivor 51. But this episode definitely was, in my opinion, the absolute most soul-crushing episode we have had in recent memory in Survivor, because we genuinely believed that we were going to get one of our favorites to win this season of Survivor 50 that we have been just absolutely dying to see win forever. And it's no shade to the winner, but I'm saying Devens and Cirie were edited to be the potential winners for the longest time. Cirie had the winner's edit the entire season, and they both go home in a rushed final 7 episode. It was such a rushed double elimination. Rick Devens had this absolute crazy arc in the past few episodes with the Mr. Beast thing, with the fake idol, with all of that. He was really the center point of those episodes, and then he's just rushed out in the first half of this episode before the finale. Are you kidding me? There was like absolutely no hope for him. They didn't even try to make you think that somebody else was gonna go home instead of him. Devens just was like absolutely rushed through the freaking door, and it felt like an unsatisfying end for him. With Cirie, it was kind of better for her, but the issue was they kind of already edited this exit with Christian Hubicki once in the season, and they also did it with Colby Donaldson. I mean, they gave everybody their like swan song in the episode, and then they went home. It was the same formula that they've already used in episodes past this season, so it kind of made it very predictable. Like, I knew watching this episode, Devens was cooked and Cirie was soon to follow. The moment that Aubrey name dropped Cirie, I knew she was gone, and it was kind of depressing. Like, it was kind of sad. At least with Cirie's elimination, they gave a little bit of an edit where they made you think that maybe Aubrey was going and that Cirie was going to pin it on Aubrey. But the way that they had Rizzo talking in the confessionals about how it was such a great move, and that's all they kept saying was, wow, this would be amazing if it happened, I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen, and they were just writing off the potential of it to keep you invested in the episode. But unfortunately, Cirie and Devens had their demise. Their torch was snuffed in the same episode. Cirie had a good edit off. I can't hate on hers too much, but Devens was really unsatisfying for me because of the fact that he was just rushed out of the door. And I just really wanted one of those two to win. Like, I think this was the episode where a lot of us were just like, all right, well, this has now entered Game Changers territory. It is just devastating that they were eliminated, especially in the circumstances that they were, because realistically speaking, if I was on the island, and now obviously it's easy for me to say this because I am at home recording this from my house instead of from the islands of Fiji actually playing the game, and I don't know the people personally, but I feel like if I was in the game, I would want to hide behind somebody like Rick Devens for a couple more votes, especially Cirie Fields. Cirie's not winning immunity. At least with Devens, I could give you the argument that he's going to win immunity, but you also have Joe and Jonathan to worry about right there. And that to me is more threatening. Like, yes, Joe and Jonathan are easy to take to the end and probably beat, you know, in a clean sweep in the jury, but you also have to think about the fact that you need to be able to get there. So maybe you got to like see the challenge threat level. The moral of the story is absolutely you could take Cirie out at final 5, no problem. There was no reason to vote her out there. Realistically, you could probably take her to final 4 and then maybe try to beat her in fire, you know, if there is even fire making, because you don't know at that point, right? But the thing is, man, they just kind of didn't really care. The people were kind of stubborn, stuck in their ways, and that's honestly what happens when you take a bunch of under the radar GOAT level players that people like to say. That's the perception of them that we got through the edit. Reddit, if you take all of them to the end, eventually they're going to outnumber you and they're going to vote you out. It's what happens in seasons in the past. It's what happened in Survivor 43, and we got the final 3 that we did in that season. It's what happens in Game Changers. It's what happens in a lot of those seasons. You need to get rid of those people, because if you don't, we end up with a very, very, very unsatisfying end to the season. No offense to the final 5. It's just they clearly were not the focal point of the edit at all. I wish that we could have gotten more of them. I'll talk about that more in another video. But irregardless, this episode for me truly was the end of Survivor 50. Okay, so now let me tell you a quick story on how I pretty much cursed Survivor 50. So, if you don't know, Bryce and Wendell, who are 2 Survivor alumni players, Bryce competed on Survivor 28 Cagayan. He was on the Beauty Tribe. Unfortunately for Bryce, he was voted out pretty early. But Wendell, of course, was on Survivor 36 Ghost Island, where he won, and then he came back for Winners at War and did not do too bad on Winners at War. So, those guys are awesome Survivor alumni. Of course, Wendell, being a former winner, pretty legendary, right? So they're great friends, and they formed this thing called Bryce and Win Presents, and they are Survivor 50 watch parties. Well, they do watch parties for all sorts of shows, primarily Survivor, but they also did them for Squid Game whenever that was airing. They've done them for a couple of shows. I mean, they really just do a lot of the reality TV world. It's really awesome. It's a big crossover event. So they were doing watch parties for the entirety of Survivor 50, okay? Now, you might know where I'm going with this, but I attended a few of those watch parties, and whenever I went, let's just say I may have cursed all of my favorite players. So the first event that I went to was the one that Ozzy hosted in Chicago. So I went up to Chicago and I was there, hung out with Ozzy. I got to meet him, really cool guy. But I went there, and in that episode, Q was voted out, and I love Q. He's one of my favorite players. So there was curse number 1. Then they hosted an event in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was like, okay, dope, I'll go to St. Louis and hang out. So I went over to St. Louis. That's whenever I met Bryce and Wendell for the first time, because they were not in Chicago at the Ozzy event, but they were in St. Louis. Got to meet them. They were super nice, great guys. They're really, really, really cool dudes. But I got to hang out with some of my Squid Game friends, just all sorts of people there. It was really fun. But whenever I was there, that was the episode where Christian was voted out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? 2 for 2 now on these watch parties. This is insane. Well, you might see where I'm going with this. I attended another watch party hosted by Bryce in Chicago, and it was this episode, episode 12, where my last 2 remaining favorite players, Rick Devens and Cirie, were voted out in a double elimination. So essentially, I am here to take the blame for Survivor 50 going downhill, because I clearly cursed it by going to the Bryce and Wendell events. I love going to the Bryce and Wendell events, but now I'm kind of scared to go to another one. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I was sitting out there that entire night thinking, bro, if Rick and Cirie go home this episode, I am going to crash out. I knew it was going to be a double based off of the pacing of the first half of the episode, but whenever I saw that Devens went home, I'm like, bro, they brought up Cirie's name. I was like, this is absolutely insane. I genuinely have cursed it, to the point where there was this girl who was like helping Bryce and Wendell. She was a part of their crew, and she was saying to me like, bro, you need to get out. Like, you're not allowed to come back. You have cursed this place. I'm like, yeah, I did. I absolutely cursed it. It's insane to me that I did. Like, when you think about it, bro, every single one that I went to was tragedy. And what's crazy is I also went to a watch party for the premiere. It was not Bryce and Wendell though. It was up in Chicago. I went and hung out with my great friends Adam and Michael, and we were there at the watch party, and they literally in the premiere had one of the most heartbreaking moments for me, where we have that great alliance formed with like Kyle and Colby and Q and so many other people, and then Kyle hurts his freaking leg. I think he like destroyed his Achilles tendon or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he gets hurt and gets medically evacuated in the first episode. And Kyle was somebody I was a big fan of, and I see him go like that, and I'm just like, bruh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, are you serious? We had the great alliance forming, and then that alliance obviously goes to shit. They all lose their votes more or less, and then like Q gets voted out, and then Colby's gone soon after. Like, it was just such a tragedy, man. I don't know what it is with me going to watch parties, but every time I go, it is absolutely heartbreaking for me. So in other words, I don't know if I'm allowed out of my house anymore. With that being said, that's pretty much all I have for you guys in this video. I hope you're enjoying the Survivor content. I didn't used to really talk about it, but I saw comments on the last video that I did where I cast Survivor 50, which if you haven't seen that video, go check it out, because that was a really fun video, and I'm pretty proud of my cast. I think it's dope. A lot of people ended up liking it, so let me know what you think of that. Of course, Rick and Cirie were on that cast. Go check it out and see who else was on there, because it is definitely not the same as the actual cast for Survivor 50. But with that being said, in those comments on that video, I saw a lot of people saying that they wanted me to do more Survivor content. And I really appreciate that. I love whenever you guys want me to do different stuff. So I am going to be doing more Survivor content. Let me know in the comments down below what you want to hear from me when it comes to Survivor. There's 50 seasons, a lot of subject material, and I am a man full of opinions. If you know anything about me, then you already knew that. But with that being said, that's all I have for you in this video. So please like the video if you did enjoy. Comment down below what Survivor content you want to see next. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic day, week, and life. Thank you so much for watching this video. Peace out.
Leonard likes this post.